Hello friends, sorry for the delay in posting videos. I was stuck in some personal and official work, but from today onwards, I will try to keep post regularly. Now, from this video, I will continue our series in which we was covering solidedge basic to advanced sessions. So today was we were going forward in the sketching constraint in solidedge. So as you know, to start the sketch, we will first select the plane on which we want to draw. I'll click the top plane for your reference. Now, in last video, we have covered about this basic sketching steps and some basic options in solidedge. Now, from today, we will go for the constraint and relationship commands. Like you have basic idea that in any CAD, if you are drawing something, you will first need to, after finishing your drawing, you will need to provide it all the required dimensions and constraint to make it fully constraint. Cause for example, if I have given this some dimension to this sketch, but still it is not fully constrained. So if some user come here and then edit any dimensions or directly move this drawing in anywhere, then that particular sketch will be disturbed throughoutly. So this is not best practice. So like in any CAD, first we will need to fully constrain this object. If you want detailed video what is constraint and like that, you can comment. I will cover that. In solidedge basic, if you basically if you create any sketch and provide any dimensions, like here I am providing its two original dimensions to define it. Now you can see that the color of the sketch is changed to black color. So it is because in settings I have said that if the sketch is fully defined, then it should convert into the black color. You can change that settings also. Sometimes what happen, this relationship colors option menu is switched off. So sometimes if you fully constrain that sketch also, it will not show properly. So always remember, before modeling, before sketching, this relationship colors option should be on. Now if we go into the constraint tab, relationship tabs, first we have connect option. For example, if I have drawn something here and again I am drawing some geometry here. Now I want to connect these 2 points with respect to these connection points. Then I can utilize the connect point. I can directly go into the connect point and select the points menu. You can see that 2 points are connected. This will always work for lines command also. You can directly select the points and directly click on the connection point where you want to connect that line, and that reference will be created. Now you can see that in solidedge, this red icons, this red plus points, this indicate that's what type of relationships are here applied on this particular sketches. This you will get to know once you utilize all the constraints. So these options, this you can say symbols are also controlled by this relationship handle menu. If you switch it off, then you can see that that the options are not visible here, but still they work like only, but these are not visible here. But if you again on it, then you can see that will be visible. But there is this maintain relationship option. If you switch it off, and now if you place any new sketch, now you can see that there are no relationships created here, default relationships you can say. So now if I move any one line here, you can say that my rectangle is disturbed. And now again I will on this maintain relationship option. Now if I place the rectangle, you can see that the default relationships are created, so my geometry will not be disturbed. So if you are sketching in solidedge, you will have to ensure that this one, this relationship color, this alignment indicator, these four options should always be on before you start your sketching journey. Then we have horizontal and vertical constraint. For example, if I am placing one geometry here, now I want to make this geometry in line with this origin. So for that we have horizontal and vertical command or relationship. I'll place for this center line and this point of origin. Now you can see that these are particularly in line. Now if I move this object anywhere, now you can see that particularly locked in one plane only. Now if you want to delete any relationships, you will just need to select that and you can click and delete it. Now this was about rectangle, but if you place any circle also, now you want to make that circle center in line with origin, you can also utilize this horizontal vertical command. I'll click on this center, circle center, and this origin center. Once I click on that, that particular circle will be in line with the origin only. Then there is one more use case, like if you have some lines drawn in some angles, But now if you want to make them straight horizontal or vertical, for that also you can utilize this constraint. One second. Then so this was also the use case for this relationship horizontal vertical. Now to have a better idea, I will just cover some basic point, like for example, if you have one line which is under 45 degree, you can say the angle here. Then if you utilize the horizontal constraint command, then that will be directly created to horizontal line, directly aligned to horizontal line. You can see that a particular relationship is a relationship symbol is created. Now if you again create one line which is more than 45 degree angle, in the more than 45 degree angle, then it will be directly created into the vertical line. So from this you will have basic idea where to utilize this horizontal vertical constraint. Now I will just delete it. Then we have tangent relationship. This is very simple relationship. If you have any geometry which is in circular position, you just want to tangent it with another geometry, you can directly utilize the tangent command. Just select the geometry and the another geometry. Now you can see that the tangent relationship is created here. Then we have parallel and parallel command. So for that, for example, if you have two in lines, for example I have these lines, then again I have created some line in different angle. Now if I want to make it parallel, then I can directly utilize the parallel relationship. Now you can see that both lines are in the parallel now, parallel relationship now. Then again we have equal relationship. For example, if I have one another geometry which is some 50 dimensions, now I want to create this line and this line equally, I can directly utilize the equal command. I will just select the both two lines and now they are created into equal command. You can utilize this equal command in many sequences, like if you have two types of geometry, you just want to make them equal, you can directly utilize that and that particular geometry will be equal here. Then we have symmetric element object. For this reference, I will just make one geometry here. For example, now I have created this type of geometry here. I will just delete the extra features. Now you can see that these two types of geometry, I will just make it in the center. This type of geometry which is created here. Now there is one condition, like this type of section is equals to this type of section. So for that I will generally use the symmetric relationship. I will just go into the symmetric relationship. I will first select the one center line, then this our reference line and this reference line. Now you can see that there is this symmetric relationship command symbol is added here. Now if I make changes in one geometry, let's say we'll make it to 20, then you can see that general changes will be followed in the next geometry also. And you can see that here our symmetric relationships is applied here. And you can see that one line is also created which is reference line. Then we have concentric circle. For concentric circle, for example, if you have circle, for example I have this drawn this circle and I have again drawn this circle. Now if I want to match the center of these two circles, I will just directly go into the concentric circle. I will select first circle reference and another circle reference. Now you can see that those two circles are directly joined here. Then we have perpendicular command. For example, I have one geometry here. I will just create new one. I have one geometry here where I have drawn some line which is in certain angle. So now if I want to directly make it into 90-degree perpendicular, I can directly go into the perpendicular line command, select the line reference and origin reference. You can see that our line is created into 90-degree directly. You can see that our symbol is also created. Now, sometimes you can see that in this section there are two symbols. First is our perpendicular symbol, and then connect symbol also. But we are not able to clearly see it, or we are not able to properly select it. For this type of cross sections, you can just in solidedge you can just hover on that particular section. Now you can see that there is mouse icon appears. You can just right click on that. Now you will have the layers option on which the particular points are hovered here, like highlighted here. So first one is this point intersection, then this line is highlighted, then this line is highlighted, and then we have endpoint option also. So like that, you can directly utilize this command section also. In this section, solidedge is very user friendly for these types of sections. Then we have collinear command. Like for example, I have one line which is in certain angle. Now again with reference I have created some line, but it has some different angle. So now if I want to make these two line in collinear in single line reference, then I can go into the collinear command. I'll select the original line and then another line. You can see that the collinear reference is created here. A relationship is created here. Then we have this lock option. Lock option, for example, if I have already I have mentioned, if you want to make any sketch fully constant, you will have to give all the required dimensions. Like for example, I have given here for the rectangle 2 dimension length and width, but still it is not fully constant. It is not converted into black color. It is as due to our it is away from our origin, so we will have to provide the origin reference dimensions also, like this dimension I am providing and this dimension I am providing. Now you can see that it is fully constant here, but sometime what will happen, you have to draw some geometry which is only you will utilize for reference, or you don't want to give any dimensions to that geometry. Then in these cases you can directly use lock command. I'll click on the lock command, select the geometry. Now you can see that it is automatically fully constant. I'm not able to move it also. And you can see that the lock command feature is also added here. Symbol is added here. It indicated that without dimension, it is fully constant. Then we have rigid set. Rigid set command, it is useful like if you have two types of geometry sets. For example, I have created one this geometry set and now this geometry set. Now if I have condition that if I change the origin or if I move this particular cross section, then this cross section should also follow it. So in that case, I can directly use rigid set. I will just select the geometries and click on accept. Now you can see that if I just move one reference, then another geometry will also follow it. Then we have symmetric axis. Symmetric axis command is which is also useful, like we have already seen the symmetric command. So for that, like for example, I will just draw our cross section reference again. I will just make it into center. Now for this type of cross section, in last case we have used our symmetric relationships. In that case, I have explained that first you need to select the our axis, then our two geometry reference. Now here you can see that our this axis was defined as a symmetric axis. So if in another practice, if you don't want to utilize this command, but you want to make any axis define symmetric axis from starting only, you can directly go into the symmetric axis command and select that particular axis which you want to make it to symmetric. Now if you go into the symmetric axis command, it will directly you don't need to select the axis for reference. You can directly select the sketches, and that particular command will follow the axis which you have already defined in symmetric axis command. So like that you can utilize this section also. Then I have already mentioned also, in if you are doing any modeling in solidedge, any sketching in solidedge, then this maintain relationships, then relationship handles, relationship colors, and alignment indicators. These four options should always be on. Then we have relationship assistant also. Like for example, if you want, if you have some sketches, or for example, if you have uh, drawn some freehand sketches, or if you have exported or imported from any another drafting software like DWG format or DXF format, and now we have this type of sketch which I don't want to give any dimensions manually. I want to make it automatic fully constraints. For that we have relationship assistant. You can say auto dimensioning type section also. So for that I will go into the relationship assistant. As name indicated, it will give the assistant whichever constraint and relationship you want. Now you can go into the options. If you go into options, you can control which type of relationship should automatically applied here, then which type of dimension should be automatically applied here. I will click on OK. Now I will select the geometry. I will click on accept. Now here, if you see in the prompt bar, it is asking me to select the horizontal line. So always go for the origin references, as we have to make it fully constrained. So I am selecting the horizontal reference line. Now I am selecting the vertical reference line. Now you can see that all the required dimensions to make it fully constrained, and all the relationships to make it fully constrained are applied directly here. Now this sketch is converted into fully constraints. So for the auto dimensioning feature, you can directly utilize relationship assistant. Then we have Intel Sketch options. Intel Sketch option is like, first we have automatic dimensioning enabled. It is like, for example, if in generally solid edge, if you draw something, then the references, like reference to dimensions are directly drawn here. For rectangle, these dimensions are created. For circle, this radius diameter are created. But if you don't want this enabled automatically, you can directly go into the Intel Sketch menu and switch it off. Now you can see that if you draw any geometry, the dimensions, reference dimensions will not be created. You will have to put it manually. According to your use case, you can handle that. Then relationships control points. Like for example, sometimes what will happen, like I will create this circle. Now to control this circle, I only have this center point to access it, and on perimeter I only have one point. So now if I want to connect this particular perimeter point to this origin, I cannot do that. So for that, you can go into the Intel Sketch option, and in relationships you can enable the select points, whichever points endpoints you want to enable. You can click that. Now if I click on circle, now you can see that that particular control point is enabled here. Now if I go into the connect command or any command, I can directly utilize that. Same will happen for any sketches you are particularly creating. If you are not able to select any particular points, you will need to check if that relationship's in on here, on or off. Then in cursor, if you go into the cursor, from here you can control the pixel size of cursor, which currently we are using. You can utilize auto size or small size according to your use case. So this was all about the relationships and this Intel Sketch menu. In next video, we will go for the smart dimensioning features in solid edge. So thank you for being here. We will see you in next video.